on Blankman.
Oh, Blankman. Were you a true hero, Blankman?
Stop! Here's someone new on the block. No better spider could compare to this top-notch hero.
What is going on YouTube? This is Venomous Media, back with another video. Today we're going to be taking a trip back to 1994, which in my opinion was one of the best years of all time in cinema, because there are just so many classics from that year that still hold up very well to this day. And of course we did get a few comic book movies from that year, some that I've already done retrospects for, including The Mask, which was my first, and the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie, so please check those out if you haven't already. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you will know that I post anything comic related, and I've been on a roll with my comic book movie retrospects, and I want to review every possible comic movie, show, animated series, animated movie, and game possible. However, I think I will include superhero movies and shows period, even if they aren't based on an existing comic book. And one of those movies is actually the subject of today's video, and a childhood favorite of mine. I'm talking about Blankman. Now this retrospect will be a little different, since again, this is an original movie and not based on an existing comic. Anyway, Blankman, along with Meteor Man, which came out in 1993, are noted for being the first mainstream superhero movies with a black lead. However, the first movie with a black comic book character wouldn't come until 1997 with Spawn, which I have already covered if you haven't checked it out. Anyway, when Blankman hit theaters, it was a box office bomb, only making $9 million on a $30 million budget. It was panned by critics, and even getting put on some worst movie list from that year. But the good news is, it has gained a following over the years, after its run in theaters. Anyway, let's dive into this. In the 90s, Damon Wayans, along with his family, were making their mark in the world of entertainment with In Living Color, which ran for 4 seasons in 1990 to 1994. And of course, Damon had already been building up a resume in film, stacking up bit and supporting parts in Beverly Hills Cop, Hollywood Shuffle, Colors, I'm Gonna Get You Sucka, with his brother Keenan, The Last Boy Scout, and his first film role as a leading man, Mo Money, which proved to be a box office success. And in 1994 came his next leading role in the form of Blankman, a superhero comedy that paid homage to Adam West's Batman series. And of course, Damon Wayans was no stranger to wearing a superhero costume, because in Living Color, he played a superhero called Handyman in a segment called The Adventures of Handyman, about a mentally challenged superhero fighting crime. Blankman is noted for reuniting Wayans with his In Living Color co-star, David Alan Grier, who had actually made an appearance in I'm Gonna Get You Sucka. Also notable among the supporting cast are Robin Givens, Lynn Thigpen, character actor John Polito, and Jason Alexander. Arsenio Hall and Gilbert Gottfried also made cameos in the movie. The director for the movie was actor, comedian, and director Mike Binder, who had directed Indian Summer, which featured Alan Arkin, Diane Lane, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Pollak. And Damon Wayans, in addition to starring, was also one of the writers, along with J.F. Lawton, who had written Pretty Woman and Under Siege. Now we have the cast and crew out the way, let's get into the premise. The movie follows two brothers named Daryl and Kevin Walker, who grew up watching Batman reruns. Daryl's a nerdy inventor and a repairman, who has trouble fitting in and has a robot companion named J5, while Kevin is a cameraman looking for his big break in the world of news. Daryl's antics annoy Kevin from time to time, but both brothers care for each other, and they were raised by their grandma, Eleanor, who's assisting Marvin Harris in his campaign to win mayor in an attempt to rid their neighborhood of all the crime that's happening. One of the criminals being mob boss Michael the Suit Manelli, who attempts to help Harris with his campaign by offering a contribution in an attempt to bribe him, but Harris shuts his offer down, and before leaving, Manelli exchanges words with Grandma Walker, and later on, Grandma Walker is robbed and killed by Manelli's men. After his grandma's murder, Daryl grows frustrated with all the crime happening around him, and one day while riding the train, he saves an elderly woman from getting robbed, and that inspires him to become a superhero. So he makes a costume and crafts a bunch of tech toys, and starts a war against crime. And after weeks of fighting crime, he's getting attention by the media, and is eventually dubbed Blankman. As Blankman, Daryl will have to continue his war against crime and get justice for his murdered grandmother. So that was the premise. Like I said before, since this isn't based on an existing comic, I'll have to do things a little different here. Blankman is a clear homage to Batman, mainly the Adam West series, so I'll go over the references and nods, and a few other comic characters that Blankman reminds me of, and determine if this is a good 60s Batman homage. So let's do this. At the start of the movie, Daryl and Kevin are watching Batman, and Daryl's talking in the same mannerism that Burt Ward's Robin did.
Holy mucilage!
Holy rainbow!
Holy Cinderella! Holy homecoming! Holy shrinkage!
Holy bad deception, Batman. I'll fix it.
Also, they're both imitating the fight scenes from Batman. Also, when their grandmother sees the toilet plumbing, since that's how they're trying to get the TV to work, both of them shout to the Batpole. Then there's an animated intro for the movie in the style of the 60s Batman series, which also had an animated intro. Also, during some of the fights in the movie, they have the captions and sound effects play. Blankman's brother Kevin becomes his sidekick called Other Guy, and his costume gives me Green Hornet vibes with the hat and mask. And you can argue that Daryl is a bit like Peter Parker since both are geniuses who can invent stuff. And to some degree you can say he's like Clark Kent since he wears glasses when he's not in costume. Also, Kevin's boss, Mr. Stone, is like an evil and unsympathetic version of J. Jonah Jameson, Spider-Man's boss at the Daily Bugle, who just cares about news ratings, even if that means working with the bad guy. Which, to be fair, JJJ did hire Scorpion that one time to deal with Spider-Man. Robin Givens' character, Kimberly, is clearly the Lois Lane of this movie. And you can also say that Grandma Walker's murder somewhat mirrors the murders of both Batman's parents and Spider-Man's uncle, although it was a mob hit in this movie instead of a mugging. Some even say that the Kick-Ass movie from 2010 is kind of like Blankman, but more violent, because Kick-Ass is also a nerd who eventually develops into a skilled vigilante. Now in my comic retrospects, I usually critique the action, but since this is a 60s Batman homage, that's what I gotta go by, and I think they did a great job. In addition to the tone of the show, they capture the action perfectly too, because there's so much wackiness in the fight scenes. You got Blankman using a custom pair of nunchucks, and he also uses a boot which he throws, just like Batman would with his Batarang. I really do think this is a very underrated superhero movie, and I think one of the reasons it bombed was because there were so many big movies that year. We got The Mask, The Crow, Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Dumb and Dumber, True Lies, Lion King, Ace Ventura, and the list goes on. But despite the tough competition, Blankman went on to become a cult classic. And I know the plot might be simple for some people, and the fact that it's a 60s Batman homage probably made this difficult to sell to moviegoers, since we had the first two, Batman, Superman, The Mask, and The Crow at the time. But I do think, for the time, this was actually a really well-made superhero movie. And again, this predates Kick-Ass, being about a nerd who becomes a skilled vigilante. Also, unlike a lot of the superhero movies today that are mainstream and based on a comic, you actually care for the main characters in this movie, which is lacking in today's movies. It's really sad that in today's age, Thor, Captain Marvel, although the only Carol Danvers I acknowledge is Miss Marvel. If it upsets you, boo-hoo, you can fight me on that one. She-Hulk, Doctor Strange, Hulk, and Spider-Man are some of the worst written characters in live-action comic adaptations. At least in Blankman, you care for Daryl and Kevin, and we see both of them bond and develop as the movie goes on. Which again, that's something missing in most modern comic book movies. And when it comes to a superhero, it's important to make us care for them. Like with Blankman, his grandmother is killed, and he's tired of seeing all the crime in his neighborhood and city, so he decides to rise up. Blankman losing somebody close and deciding to fight crime makes us invested in him. And of course, the humor in this movie is fire, which is no shock since it stars Damon Wayans and David Alan Grier, two of the funniest comedians at the time, and even today they are comedy legends. Some examples of the humor in this movie include Daryl's first outing as Blankman against the pimp. The exchange between them is gold.
Don't you know, man, I'll beat you like you're one of my bitches.
Slap me around and call me Susan.
I warned you, Susan.
And I will admit, there were some jokes I didn't get as a kid when I first saw this, like when Blankman is helping a woman give birth in the elevator. I always wondered, why is Kevin crying? And watching it years later, I figured it out.
You have a big finger!
Thank you!
Or when Robin Givens kisses Damon Wayans, and he starts acting all weird, which I also figured out in later years. I also love when Daryl has all that junk in their home, and Kevin starts breaking stuff, including his own radio.
What I just threw out there?
Your radio?
Daryl? Daryl?
Also, when David Alan Grier is taunting the henchman to shoot him is comedy gold. It's probably the best and funniest scene in the movie.
Oh yeah? Sammy, shoot him. Well, come on, Sammy. You bad. Shoot me. Man, would you shut up, man?
That's something I didn't tell you.
What? I got to paint a target on my ass? Well, come on. Oh! Oh! Oh my God, you shot me.
Because he's assuming his costume is bulletproof and gets a rude awakening. Reminds me of the 1993 Super Mario movie where Luigi thinks he's flying and finds out he's chained to a hook. And Mario jumps like a total moron, and Luigi's screaming trying to warn him is priceless.
Okay, just, yeah, okay.
Come on, come on.
I'm there. No, wait, Mario, don't jump, no, it's not, no, that's fine, it's just a...
And while Michael the Soup Minnelli might seem like a generic and cliche villain, a mobster who runs the city and controls the crime world, John Polito's actually really entertaining in the role. His hamminess is one of the highlights in the movie. Sure, he might sound like a Saturday morning villain, but that fits perfectly with this movie. Also, fun fact about John Polito. He also appeared in The Crow that same year, and has also played various roles in Batman media, including Carmine Falcone in Batman Arkham Underworld, and he also voiced Hammerhead in the Ultimate Spider-Man series. Also, the soundtrack consisted of rap, hip-hop, jazz, and R&B from artists such as Tag Team, Domino, and the New Power Generation, who sing the theme song for this movie.
Nip on the block. No bad a spider could compare to this top-notch hero. He's everyday people, defending our good, destroying our evil.
I mean, seriously, it is a banger. And it's been 30 years since Blankman hit theaters, and Damon Wayans seems proud of the movie since there are Blankman-related posts on his social media from time to time. Also, his son, Damon Jr., who played the young version of David Alan Grier's character Kevin, has expressed interest a few years back in bringing back Blankman, with him playing the role alongside his father, which honestly wouldn't be too bad of an idea, the mantle going down to Blankman's son. I mean, Damon Jr. is a great comedian in his own right, and can do the role justice. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Blankman. Did you like it? If so, what'd you like? If not, what didn't you like? Would you like to see a Blankman 2 or some kind of revival with Damon Jr.? Also, if you have any ideas for my next superhero or comic retrospect, comment down below. Also, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. This is Venomous Media signing off.